Hi, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to discuss how to navigate your family and friends when you tell them you are pagan, or if you've really stepped out and you've actually said that you're a witch. But we'll just go say pagan, anything that falls into there. You're not, one any of the Judeo-Christian religions. You're no longer identifying as that. So first off, my name is Mika and this is Leap Taken. Thank you for joining me. And I have my handy dandy notes. So if you hear that, I'm trying to stay, focused here on what I want to talk about, because this subject is really is it can really mess you up. It can wreak havoc on your mental state, and it could affect your spirituality if you feel like you're not being accepted by people you care about. So with that in mind, spirituality is personal. You don't owe anyone an explanation, including loved ones. You really don't. You don't have to explain anything. However, most of us, for people we care about and we love, we may want to tell them what's going on in our life, especially if this is new to us and we're learning so many cool things and you're doing spells and they work and they're working. And you're seeing physical manifestations of what you manifested, and it's really happening for you. So you're going to be excited and you're going to want to share it with people that you care about. um so although you don't have to, you may want to. What I would suggest is avoiding comparisons. And you won't be comparing potentially, but they will. So who do you pray to? Because that they pray to someone. Well, what do you go to a church? You're constantly, they have one frame of reference, and typically, especially of the Christian variety, the one, at least in my family, the one frame of reference is the only frame of reference. It is the only way. So it's kind of hard to sometimes avoid those conversations. But what you want to do is, for me, I've simply said, it's really completely different from what I'm what you're used to. So it's really hard for me to explain in comparison to that. And then maybe you can just give an overall definition and say, basically, I just believe in energy and manipulating energy to my greater good, and also learning to flow with energy. And that's basically anything from the sun, the moon, cosmic energy, understanding universal laws, maybe very high level esoteric concepts, and don't go too deep unless someone asks. Um, and which goes into the next point. Let them say whatever they're going to say. Sticks and stones may break my bones, but names will never hurt me. They hurt you. They hurt you mentally. They hurt you. Oh, my hair is starting to really frizz up here. Anyway, they can hurt you, and because trust me, if it was strangers on the street, you could laugh it off, you can make fun of them. But when it's your family, you don't feel that way. Ooh, I was sweating. Then I got wet and dry. Anyway, yeah, your friends and family, people you care about, like I said, they're the ones who are going to get to you. But just let them say, for the most part, what they're going to say. More family than friends, it's hurt, because some people and families find it as a rejection to them that you're no longer a part of that particular faith. Um, it's all linked in their minds, part of the family. So I'm talking probably your parents or siblings, depending on how they are. They might have a more hard time with it if everything, the family is linked to their faith, their religion. But just let it roll off, especially if it's the first time you're telling them. Just let it go. Now, with that being said, personal attacks. At that point, I wouldn't say just sit there and take it. As with anything, you got to have boundaries on how people talk to you. Leave. Stop the conversation. That's it. We're not talking about, you went from caring about saving my soul to, cursing me out. So no, we're done with that. We're done with the conversation now. And if you're offended, you've been kind and patient in trying to explain, and hopefully just want to get past the conversation just so they know you're not part of that faith anymore. Um, it's okay if you feel offended, because while you're being nice and patient and tolerant, um, it's not okay for someone to be offensive to you. Just because they don't understand or they don't agree with your path doesn't mean it's okay to be offensive toward it. That's not okay. And it's okay, again, for you to walk away in that conversation. Another point is they may never understand. You can be in a situation where they never understand. My grandmother to this day will not understand to a degree. She just won't. And that's okay. She's 80 plus years old. What am I going to argue with her? I don't allow her to believe anything that's not true about myself, but I don't feel the need to keep fighting a point either. Um, if you're feeling pressured, so you've had the big conversation, you've explained your situation, your path is different from theirs. Maybe you've been already committed to a different path, but you're just explaining to them, and I think that's going to be the case with most people. So you've explained, you've said all this, and you're still getting pressure to go to church on Sunday. You're still getting pressure to say amen at the end of grace, at get-togethers. You're still expected to, or pressured to, um, basically participate in things that you no longer identify with, and they know that. But the hope, of course, is to get you back in the fold and get you back on track, as you had been before, and with the hope that you'll change your mind about this whole crazy stuff that you're talking about, and get back on board with them, and the family's religion. What are you gonna do? That's Not everybody's like that, but some families can be like that. And again, this is typically going to be probably parents, mothers, fathers. It's typically going to aunts, things like that, grandmothers, who are going to be a little bit more forceful, a little bit more aggressive, and try to pull their rank as being your parent. Um, that's a typical thing. You just keep positive and you're polite. Again, no one should be personally attacking you, but them asking and pressuring is not necessarily a personal attack. It's just annoying, and it is what it is. I want to say eventually they'll get the point. Eventually, they won't keep asking as much. But if you want to have a little fun, wear some pagan jewelry around them and freak them out a couple times. Have fun with it. And I'm not asking you to throw anything in anybody's face, but if you're constantly getting pressured and being put on the spot, occasionally, do a little bit of it back. Nothing too crazy, but hit them with something. Invite them over right after you wrapped up a ritual and you have your ritual garb on. I don't know, something crazy, yeah, but that's just me. Not enough to make it, too crazy, too upsetting, but just enough to kind of, get them back a little bit. Hey, we're human, right? Sometimes people need to learn by it being done to them, Um, Also, lastly, you're allowed to just no longer entertain questions about religion, spirituality, your faith, your path, or your lack of going with their path. You're allowed to, going forward, just dismiss the conversation. Say, hey, I really don't want to talk about that. I don't want to talk about that. That we're not going to agree. We're going to, each have our own opinion. So let's just, before we even get into it, let's just agree to disagree and talk about something else. And, maybe you say that every time. And hopefully, you have halfway decent people in your life who will get the hint and kind of just get off the subject and leave you alone. I hope you do. If you don't, you might have to re-examine, and this is the part nobody wants to talk about. You might have to re-examine how often you're around these people, how often you're interacting, whether you're going to go to family functions, especially around the holidays, if they won't be accepting to you. It's no more than anything else in life that you make a lifestyle choice about. And if your family doesn't agree and they're giving you a hard time about it and they won't let up, at some point you might have to address whether or not you want to be around that family member or the family. Now this is a little different when we're talking spouses. I have a very accepting spouse. My husband is very accepting, so this is a non-issue for me. I think the only time we've ever run into an issue is when there's been a conversation about his about Christianity, as far as how he was brought up to believe it to be. And if I maybe want to have a conversation about it and I want to make a point about something or point something out, it can get a little sticky. And it's not so much that he even necessarily follows that faith now, but I think, remember I said people as family identify with their religion. It's all, woven into the family dynamics. Um, for some people, it really is, and even though they don't participate, it's part of who their grandmom was. If you had a grandmother who was a devout Christian, she went to church all the time, she dragged you with her. Those, it's part of your childhood. It's part of, especially if you have parents and cousins and uncles or whatever who are no longer with you. Those memories hold dear to you, and especially if they, your family members were looked out for you and they prayed for you, and they looked parts of their religious faith, for your healing, for your well-being, for your safety. It's hard to walk away from that, and it's hard to listen to people pick that overall religion apart, because in your psyche, in your memories, that's something dear to you. Not that we should be picking people's religion apart, but sometimes there are spirited debates. There are conversations that are had, and we can find that we have kind of crossed in a territory. We, being me, obviously, have crossed in a territory of maybe become a bit offensive and not as tolerant as we want, others to be to us, and we just sort of attack and, not attack, but, point out facts. But anyway, I'm going to get off of that. Overall, I would just say have patience with people, especially for ones that we love and care for. Have patience. Understand that this is if they had no idea you were going in this path, it's okay. You don't have to share with them, and let me repeat that in a different way. You don't have to share everything with them. You don't have to tell them every new spell that you did, what worked, what didn't work. You don't have to tell them that you're going to do a full moon ritual. You don't have to tell them about your tarot reading, your dream last night. You don't have to tell them that, because I don't think they really want to know if they're struggling with accepting you going down this path. The last thing you want to do is force it down their throats in the name of, well, you're my so and so, you're my mom, you're my sister, you're my friend. You should want to hear this because this is a part of my life, and I want to share because it's part of my life. Right? Get a journal. Find friends in the path. In the same way, you're not going to want them to consistently tell you everything, the passage they read and how they felt about it, and what the sermon was said in church and all this other stuff. You're only going to want to hear that after a while so much. It works in reverse. So it's not about not sharing and not telling people what's really going on in your life. You can celebrate maybe the end result. I'll give a quick example. I did spell work. Let me think of something that I know I shared. I did spell work to get a new car. This is the last year. And we had ran into some issues from a credit point of view for a minute, because of just having too much, because I wasn't working anymore, and then my husband already had two vehicles he was financing, and he was almost finishing wrapping up the financing. It was just a couple grand left on a car we gave to my daughter. Yeah, that's right. I'm trying to make sure I got that right. Yeah. So I thought he was overextended. and that he wouldn't be, because I have no income, so I didn't think he would be able to um, get me another car, get me a car, because I wanted my own car. So I knew I would have to add a little something, out there, to make it happen, and I did, and it did happen, and it was great, divine timing. Everything went according to plan, and I got the type of car I wanted. So it's not, didn't just get any car; I got what I wanted. Um, so did I go into a whole thing about what I did and how it worked, and you know, uh, you know, giving, any, I didn't go into anything about my spell work, is my point. I just celebrated my car. Now, I will be honest with you. One of my relatives did say, "Oh, well, praise God." And I said nothing. And it was a couple seconds of an awkward pause. And then the conversation continued. So I suggest maybe you take a page out of my book and do so. You don't have to respond. You don't have to engage. It's not being rude. They know that's not my bag. That's not my deal. They know. It's been years for me. They know. But that's something they say. And I understand that and I respect that. So I let it go. And I just moved on with the conversation. And I continued to talk about how happy I was about my new car. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed listening to this. I'm gonna have to do something with this hair. I hope you enjoyed listening to me going on about this, because this is actually a serious issue for a lot of people, and I really feel for people who are struggling with, coming into their own, and especially specifically in witchcraft, and identifying as a witch, and or Wiccan, we'll go with that. And having family and friends who are just not receptive, just not supportive, and them having to navigate still having these relationships and still continuing on their path. I really feel for them, especially the younger witches who are coming out, and I really feel for them. I really do. I don't know what to tell you other than, just you're going to have to hide things. You're going to have to seek solace in probably online communities, especially if you're younger. You'll probably have to do that. Choose wisely who you reveal information to and what groups. Stay protected. Do protective work on yourself. Learn that first if possible so that you stay protected, because there's a lot of predators out there, unfortunately. But yeah, you're gonna have to accept that maybe you can't be as out as you want to be, as witchy as you want to be, when you're still in your parents' house, or you're still being bankrolled by your parents. Like if you're in college and things like that, you might have to make adjustments when you get around them. I am the mother of college age children now. Obviously, I'm gonna feel a little differently about it, but I do understand. You feel like you have some pull, some say in your children's lives, because you'll always feel like that. But if you're paying for them and their lifestyle, yeah, you're really gonna feel like you can dictate some things to them. I try not to do that so much, but yeah, it's a mama dad thing. We do that. Out of love, but definitely go ahead and just kind of come to the realization that you're gonna have to make some concessions, and if you're serious and you're committed, your time will come where you get to be on your own anyway, and you can do things the way you want. So those are just my thoughts on that. Thanks again for listening. Hopefully you'll come back again and check out some more videos. I am going full time in posting videos and making a commitment to have at the minimum 2 videos up weekly. Most likely I'll do more, but bear with me. I'm also keeping up with my blog, where I speak in a more general pagan point of view at leaptaken.wordpress.com. I talk about self-care, mostly my own. I talk about lifestyle items, blog posts, things of that nature. I talk about spirituality. I talk about manifesting mostly. I rarely go into anything specifically witchcraft. This particular channel is my outlet to do so. So that's why I feel like this is the part where I kind of unleash a little bit more. Um, Here I speak mostly I mean, their universal law, like I said, specifically law of attraction, things like that. But here I can, call it what it is. I'm a cottage witch. I practice magic. I do spells. I create charms. Um, I write my own incantations. I hex if I have to. I do all of those things, and I am a regular 45-year-old black woman, married to a very southern black man who was raised in a very Baptist world. And I have children who are open, but they are not religious and they don't necessarily follow my path. And I have, friends and family, and I consider myself a traditional housewife. So that's a little bit about me. And those who I choose to talk to and deal with, family and friends, hopefully they accept that, or at least they appear to, because they still talk to me. I don't live around any of my family, and my very best friend, I don't live around her either. So we talk on the phone, we FaceTime, we do all those sort of things. But I at this stage of the game, they know what I'm about, know who I am. So I feel accepted by those people, and anyone who doesn't, it is what it is, right? I'm not changing, and neither should you. If anything, you should evolve and grow, but you don't change for other people. Thanks again for watching. Bye.